Well, hey everyone, and welcome to KPC Underground. Aaron here. This is the podcast that we do right underneath our stage here
which
at KPC,
hear.
which we can hear. Yes, we can always hear. You know, you out there may not be able to hear it because these microphones actually do a fairly decent job of rejecting outside noise, but it is not soundproof, at all above our heads. So we may hear some banging because we have a show tonight here at KPC, and I'm so excited to be here with Bob from the Brothers Four. And, this is the legend, the man, the myth, the legend right here, who started a band with his frat bros back in the day to impress girls. Because that's why we all start bands, isn't it? I mean,
that's why we all started.
Isn't
that's right? And we just chose folk music as opposed to rock and roll.
Yeah, well, I mean, folk it sort of was the rock and roll. I mean, back in the late 50s,
no, you're right. It was.
It was. It occupied that same sort of space.
Yeah, it was. Norman Luboff, right?
Yep.
Norman Luboff Choir, and so Little Belafonte and the Weavers, and on top of Old Smoky and So Long It's Been Good to Know You, all that. So
right.
Easy songs to learn
right.
How to sing and play.
Right.
And we'd go to the sorority house and serenade them, and
right.
And nothing better than that.
Right. Not much has changed, Did you ever think, back then? Well, first of all, thank you so much for being here, which I didn't say.
Aaron, you're welcome.
There is a sold-out show tonight with the Brothers Four here at KPC, and we love these guys. They're been here many times over the years.
We call this our home court.
Right, absolutely the home court from around here.
Yes, sir. Yes.
And have moved around over the years, but it always feels great when you come back. Always a great crowd to experience you guys. So thank you so much for
you're welcome.
For being here.
A great part of being here in this really intimate. I don't know if you've never been to this theater, you should come and experience this really European style. There's no seat that is a bad seat in this place.
Absolutely.
And you feel like we're close to the audience.
Yep.
And it really encourages the part of what we do that we love so much, which is singing along, right? And singing together. So that's what it's going to be tonight, for sure.
Absolutely. Love it. So, you started the Brothers Four with your frat brothers. That was kind of a joke, but that's actually factually true, that you started with some frat bros back in the day at University of Washington. Yeah. And was there any thought in your mind like, I'll probably still be doing this in 65 years,
No.
Or no?
Absolutely not. No. Not, of course. But, we first, our first summer of doing this was 1959, actually. Okay. And we left Seattle on 4th of July, 1959, to fly Northwest Airlines, fly to New York to sign with Columbia Records. And,
wow.
And I think that our parents and family and they probably thought we'd be back in school, at the end of the summer.
Right.
And we never came back.
Right.
I mean, it was just the college concert's whole idea was born then.
Right.
We started going out to colleges. The Kingston Trio started going. A couple of years later, Peter, Paul, and Mary came along. Then Dylan came along, and it just galloped and hasn't stopped.
Right,
hasn't stopped.
That's I was going to ask you. Back then, it sure seems like that's the I was born in '77, so I'm a little younger than you, but I'm older than some. And, nowadays it seems like in the music industry, there's such a sort of cacophony of things you have to do in order to make it work, whether that's being on social media and, you have to grow your audience before you ever even get looked at by, a major label or anything like that. Obviously, it was a somewhat simpler time back then. When you got that first record deal, did your life, change just like that? Or did you have to, kind of work with the label to grow audiences? And what do you, I guess, what was the industry like back then?
Well, it was simple because there were probably 4 majors, and independent record labels were really in their infancy, if in that. So folk music was just starting to happen in the 60s. It was the Great American Folk Revival.
Yeah.
And so every major label wanted their folk group. And, to a great degree, we were in the right place at the right time.
Right,
And,
right.
And we had just a little side story. We had gotten a job at the Colony Club in Seattle. I don't know if you remember that or not, but it was
I'm not sure.
a famous place in Seattle where Pat Suzuki got her start, went on to Flower Drum Song from there. So we got a call. Turned out to be it was a hoax from a rival fraternity.
Oh, right.
And she said, "I'm the secretary. Come on down. We want to audition you." So anyway,
Okay.
it wasn't real.
Right.
But we got the gig, so we worked there for about 3 or 4 quarters of school. But the point of this is that we were able to do a show because of that.
Right.
We didn't just go and sing a song and have one record and then be stranded on some stage. We could actually do a concert. And so I think that helped us a great deal toward getting into the rhythm of this college concert thing that started.
Right.
The 4 freshmen started it, Dave Brubeck started it, and then along came the Kingston Trio and ourselves, and it was just from then on nonstop.
That's so interesting. You never know where the opportunities are going to come from, I suppose, do you? Because and that backfired on the what was supposed to be a prank, like, oh yeah, come down and play at our thing. We're gonna make these guys look foolish or whatever the motivation was. It's like 65 years later, you're still doing it.
Aaron,
like, I'm not sure. Yeah.
No, one time in Denver, we were doing a show in Denver, and a woman came up, lovely lady. She said, "You know what? I was the girl that called you."
Oh, really?
Yeah, she said they put me up to it. She said, and we said,
know what?
We'd like to take you to dinner, and we'd like to thank you. So that's true story.
That is amazing.
Yeah. It was a gentle prank, but it worked out great.
Right. Yeah. No real malice in there. Just good college fun, probably. Or whatever we say. So you've had a great connection, obviously, with American audiences. Countrywide. That makes a lot of sense to me. The birth of kind of, well, not the birth necessarily, but the one of the biggest expressions, let's say, of folk music came from the United States, and
I think it was a revival at that time.
And a revival,
yes,
right?
Because
of
it
course.
was started by the Weavers and the Pete Seeger, and then kicked back in the '60s with us. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
and of course, many of the songs are much older than that.
Absolutely, yep.
And but what I was going to ask is, you've also had success, worldwide, and particularly as I was reading in Japan. What do you attribute? What are the audiences like over there? First of all, and then also, what do you think it is about that culture specifically that's different, or does it feel the same as playing to an audience over here? Or why do you think it is that your music has resonated so deeply with that audience over there?
Well, we've been there a lot, and we've thought a lot about what you just asked. When we first went there, we were representing America, actually.
Right.
This was I think that we first went there in 1961.
Okay. Yeah.
And we were the first to take this music there, and we represented not only American folk songs, but we represented the collegiate life.
Sure.
College guys, right?
Right.
And so they looked at that, the young audience looked at that as a way of life, maybe even fashion.
I see.
How we walked and talked. And the first couple of shows we did, we were kind of scared because we would do a song, as you know, and we do acoustic music. So once in a while you have to tune the guitar, right?
Yeah.
So we would do a song and stop and tune, but there'd be no applause. And
they're just kind of waiting for the next.
They were waiting for the next thing. And then we kind of looked at each other and thought, well, we'll go ahead.
Yeah.
And we did the next song, the same thing happened. But it turns out at the end of the show, they all applauded like mad and just went crazy because they were watching, as you just said, they're watching everything that went on stage like that, to see 4 guys singing acoustic, self-accompanied like that maybe they had never seen before.
So is it more of a respect thing than a...
respect and just they were absorbing everything that happened. So we now, I mean,
interesting.
We have people there who have followed us for all these years, and we have they call themselves a friend club, not a fan club, because fan comes from the word fanatic. So they call themselves the Brothers for Friend Club, and we see them every time we go there. And we've been to China and Bangkok. We were just there a couple months ago, and it's amazing to to have that responsibility in a way to be looked at and to be listened to as typical, the sound of America singing. The sound of maybe the cowboy song means that there's an independent spirit, but you still end up working together, right? And story songs and game songs and lullabies and all those things that are part of every society, every culture. And we have, of course, if you got a couple hours, we can talk all about Japan. We have lots of people over there, lots of Brothers Four groups that look just like us that sing these songs all over Japan too. It's fun. It's fun.
Well, I don't have a couple hours because you're about to do a show actually up there. But I did want to say one thing was, one of your songs, Shenandoah, which is, one of your beloved songs. And of course, I'm looking into the origins of this song because it's one of those songs sort of like no one knows where it first, it was one of those songs. And I bring up that song particularly because obviously it's one of your, everyone loves singing that one. But I heard it, I was watching this TV series called The Newsroom. Is a TV series a couple years back with Jeff Daniels in the lead as kind of this, fantastical news anchor type of guy. But there's a scene where one of the major characters dies and they play this Sissel version of that song, this Norwegian soprano version of that song. And it hit so deeply and hard. It was this really slow, just solo vocal, high, beautiful female singer singing the song. And it was like, wow, I don't really know what this song is about, but I'm feeling every, it was just the perfect placement for that. And it just was very apropos of this is what folk songs do. They speak to, they're about what they're about, but they can be about anything, and I'm sure you've experienced that with your many audiences too.
Not only that, we experience it after the shows when people come to us and discuss that very same thing about what it means to a family unit or to a school experience or to a lost love or whatever. Like Shenandoah. I long to see you. Away. It could mean anything. Yeah.
And it means everything. And I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of sharing music in general, isn't it? That people interpret it the way they want to. That's what you want. It's not like, hey, here's what the song's about. You better understand it. It's like, no, we're going to all sing these together, and whatever you feel is valid.
Yeah, and they're not always set in place either because once you do it, we may not do it exactly the same every time. That's what this music is about too. So little changes happen, and everybody, like your example of a beautiful solo woman vocalist, I'm sure she added her own volume or her own
very much so
subtleties to it that make it an endless palette that you can work with. Endless. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was just I played that song over and over. I was like, who is this vocalist? I had to play it over and over again because I'm a glutton for punishment with sad music. I love sad songs. That's all me. That's like, oh, show me a sad song. But why do it's like you listen to a sad song because you want to, not because you want to feel sad, but because it makes you feel better. Actually, you play those sad songs not because it makes you more sad, especially if you're playing them with other people.
Well, it literally puts a voice to that emotion.
Yes, right. It gets it out.
Yes,
it doesn't only live in here.
Yep.
Now it lives out there. Now I can relate to it as this other thing, and maybe deal with it, a little bit.
It's cheaper than therapy.
No, yeah, right. No, exactly.
Ladies and gentlemen, be sure to get our CDs just for that purpose.
For that purpose, because they're cheaper than therapy. Go out and get the Brothers Four. No, well, I've got to let you go. Thank you so much for sitting down with us.
Sure.
Go and check out, upcoming tour dates and everything that Brothers Four are up to at brothers4.com. And be sure to just check out their music anywhere you get music. Buy CDs, download things, do whatever. They have some dates, some additional dates coming up, and be sure to give them a follow and check out other podcasts at kpcenter.org/podcast. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you all next time.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thanks for joining us for KPC Underground. If you're enjoying this podcast, please consider supporting KPC at kpcenter.org/donate. Your generosity helps us keep this and other programs going at Kirkland Performance Center. Be sure to check out our website for the latest events coming up. And hey, we'd also love to hear from you. Please rate our podcast, like, subscribe, comment, do all that stuff. And if you have a specific question or an idea for a show, email us at podcast@kpcenter.org. Thanks for listening.